Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and well, I know I'm a few days late to the news on this, but I was having some issues with my computer, and also just took me a while to make these slides, but anyways, I'm here. Again, sorry it took me so long to actually start covering it, but recently, it was announced that we are going to be getting a spin-off series of Prehistoric Planet, and that spin-off series is Prehistoric Planet Ice Age. And apparently, we will get into its release day and the other stuff about it. But again, I'm sorry. I've had some issues with my computer recently. And I think that I figured out the issue. So I'm currently working on fixing that. But until then, I am able to at least work on a few videos. So, yeah. Anyways. Starting off, at least from what I've heard, this documentary taking place exclusively or mostly in the Pleistocene. I could be wrong. Like, I actually don't know if I can find an original source. I've only heard this from word of mouth. So, okay, from what I've heard, it's at least taking place in the Pleistocene. And I'm not sure if, like, the creatures we've had confirmed so far are, all do appear in the Pleistocene, so that would make sense. Though, I don't know if it's going to have any scenes taking place before then or anything like that. But anyways, let's just jump into this. So, yeah. First off, the documentary is releasing pretty soon, November 26th of this year, so honestly, I cannot wait to actually see that. It's coming on Apple TV, so I guess I will now have an excuse to actually watch Jane for some reason, but first, I'm definitely going to be watching this documentary, and it's going to have 5 episodes, which I think was the number of episodes the original Walking with Dinosaurs had, so yeah, that's nice. And yeah, I do want to say that I was not really expecting this at all. I was expecting if we were going to get more Prehistoric Planet to be like a season 3, or if they were going to do a spin-off series, maybe do like Prehistoric Planet Jurassic or something like that. Like, I actually kind of wish that we would have done some more dinosaur stuff, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm excited to see prehistoric creatures anyway, no matter where they're from, but hey, I was just, again, kind of hoping that we would get more dinosaurs, and I guess since this is a spin-off series, there's no reason why we can't get more dinosaurs in the future. And again, I'm not disappointed. I'm still happy the series existing and is coming out, and man, even though I haven't talked to any of the actual creatures yet, they look amazing. So, starting off with our first creature, the woolly rhino, or Smilodon as its actual scientific name. Which species of Smilodon? I have no idea, but yeah, woolly rhino. Or the woolly rhinoceros. And so far we can see a baby, and I'm assuming its mother, and they look absolutely amazing. I like the actual woolly rhino, the adult. We can kind of see the horn and it's striped. I think that looks really cool. I see that in a lot of woolly rhino depictions, so I don't know if that's like actually based off of like based off the actual like animal, if there's actual like evidence that it had stripes on its horn. But anyways, the baby looks absolutely adorable. Please let me have him. And yeah, honestly, the visual effects look great. Hopefully just as good as the original series, since I heard that they did have to get a different animation company to do this series. So yeah. Again, these look absolutely amazing. Can't wait to see more of the woolly rhino. I don't know if it's my favorite prehistoric rhinoceros, but I'd say it's still up there. And either way, I'm still happy to see it, especially with this adorable baby. Next, I do have to say, actually, before we move on, let's hope no Neanderthals get, let's just say traumatized from these guys, just like Walking with Beast. Anyways, next we have Glyptotherium, which is interesting. I'm not actually really... Okay, I've heard of Glyptotherium, and I know what Glyptotherium is. I'm just not super familiar with it. And honestly, this animal I find kind of confusing, because it's very similar to the more popular Glyptodon. And, yeah, from what I can tell, the differences between Glyptotherium and Glyptodon is that, not only, of course, are their actual, like, armor slightly different, and, like, different parts of their fossils are slightly different from each other, but also the main differences is that Glyptotherium actually did migrate north and actually lived in North America, while Glyptodon was exclusive to South America. And another thing is that Glyptotherium was smaller than, Glyptodon. And I also believe its torso is a little bit longer than Glyptodon, if I remember correctly. So those are some differences between Glyptodon and Glyptotherium, if you didn't know, because I had to Google that like the other day when I was actually making this video. But anyways, Glyptotherium is definitely a cool one to see. I think this is its first appearance in a documentary. I know Glyptodon appeared in Ice Age Giants and probably a few other things, but Glyptotherium itself I don't think has really appeared in anything. And man, its design looks amazing. I'm always here to see some giant armadillos. And yeah, also it's in a more arid environment, since it's called, even though it's called Prehistoric Planet Ice Age, of course not the whole entire Earth was like polar or some tropical and warm areas. So very excited to see this environment. And yeah, honestly, this thing just looks great. I like the colors, the armor looks great, and honestly, I'm tempted to make a figure of this creature just because it looks cool. Next, we have a giant ground sloth. They never specify which one. I think they only call it a rock-climbing sloth. And based off just the look, the environment, and just a few other things about this creature, I'm assuming that this is nothrotheriops, which also is a creature that had it's a creature that had an appearance in Ice Age Giants. And yeah, this thing thing looks like a way more updated version of that, and this is probably one of my favorite creatures. It's between this, the Glyptotherium, and the woolly rhino for my favorite creature that's been revealed so far, but this is definitely up there. It also has a baby, and honestly, I think this is the first time we're seeing a giant ground sloth with their young. Like, the only other time I can think of is, like, the cup noodle commercials. That's, like, the only other time I can remember seeing a baby giant ground sloth of any sort. But, yeah, in a more, like, documentary setting, I think this is our first time. And, man, I'm just going to refer to it as nothrotheriops. Looks absolutely amazing. And it's really cool to see it climbing cliffs. I wonder if we're going to see it living in any caves as well. But, yeah, I think this one... I don't know much about Glyptotherium, so this is just kind of a random thought, but I wonder if these guys are going to appear in the same episode. Even if they didn't live together, Prehistoric Planet doesn't have all creatures living together. They kind of just do episodes based off of the title. For example, maybe this episode could be called, I don't know. I couldn't find a list of episode names for Prehistoric Planet Ice Age, but I heard one's called, like, The Big Melt and one's called The Big Freeze, so I'm assuming these guys won't appear in those episodes, so I don't know. Maybe they'll have more unique names like that, or maybe they'll have names similar to Prehistoric Planet for some of the other episodes, and maybe just have this called, like, Batlands, or I know they probably wouldn't reuse Batlands because they already used that name, but something similar. Or, like, Arid Environment, I have no idea. But this thing, anyways, looks really cool, and also looks very similar to Sid the Sloth, at least in the colors. Though, honestly, that might have been intentional, since apparently Sid the Sloth is an nothrotheriops as well, but, honestly, I don't know. Anyways, this thing looks great. Love it. Anyways, on to the next creature. We have Smilodon, or as they refer to as the Saber-toothed tiger. And, yeah, this thing's design looks pretty cool, though. I admittedly feel like the fur on the top looks a little bit too thick for some reason. Though maybe that's just me. Anyways, we're getting a lot of Smilodon. We're getting this one, and then we're also getting one in Surviving Earth coming out, I think, next year. And basing off the Surviving Earth concept art, I think I like that design a little bit more than this one, though, again, that is just concept art. And this design still does look amazing. And, yeah. Honestly, I don't have much to say. I mean, Smilodon's probably one of my favorite prehistoric cats, but, I mean, that's not really a competition. I'm not a super big fan of prehistoric cats, and, like, this is the only one I'm really familiar with. But, yeah, Smilodon, definitely excited to see. Wonder what species they're going with. Are they going with S. populator, S. gracilis, or I forget what the other one is. But, yeah. Anyway, Smilodon, definitely a really cool creature to see. And, again... I wonder if this is going to appear with the Glyptotherium, and if it does appear with the Glyptotherium, if they're just going to basically take one of, like, the biggest points from life on our planet and just take it for their own and have the Smilodon just, like, hanging out with the Glyptodons, that would be really, really funny, and honestly, would definitely make life on our planet a little bit less unique, though maybe they'll change it up a little bit, so at least they're a little bit different. And even then, it wouldn't, like, lose any points from life on our planet. They definitely did it first, and even without that, it's still cool that they did it, but... Anyways, that was like one of the people's biggest praises, that they did that with having a cat just act like a regular cat. And, yeah, I think that would just be kind of cool they did it again in this series. Anyways, next we have homotherium, and this is the only one, despite the series being called, Prehistoric Planet Ice Age, only 2 out of the 5 images we got are actually in the snow, and this is one with the homotherium, where they're having a white color, and, well... I think its saber's being covered. I know this is not Homotherium's only appearance. I don't know of all of its appearances, but I know it at least appeared in Prehistoric. And, yeah, I think the Homotherium here looks really nice. Again, looks very similar to the cave lions from Walking with Beast. Don't know if that was intentional. And also, I could be very wrong about this, but didn't we find that Homotherium come in? Wasn't it like a brown color? I don't know if that's inaccurate, or if maybe we have evidence that the adults were a different color, or maybe this is just speculation that they would have shed their fur and then maybe got a different color fur during the winter seasons. Either way, I am excited to see Homotherium. Though I do think it looks very nice. Also like to see that it has like the lips covered. It looks kind of funny, but yeah. Because of course we do know that some saber-toothed cats would have had their sabers actually covered by their lips. Smilodon was not one of them, but Homotherium was one. So yeah. That is pretty much all for the official stuff, except for one more thing that actually doesn't have an image. Which, here you can see a line kind of talk about the creatures, and there's one creature basically mentioning they have a resilient dwarf elephant only 3 feet tall, and pretty much everyone's speculating this is Paleoloxodon, can't remember this species of Paleoloxodon, which is a absolutely tiny elephant that was only about 3.3 feet tall. And man, I am very excited to see this creature, since we don't ever see, like, I think we have Island of the Pygmy Mammoths, which is a whole documentary on pygmy mammoths, but we have none on this species of Paleoloxodon, and I don't think we have any documentary that has Paleoloxodon at all. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I've seen a single documentary that features Paleoloxodon, let alone this very small species. So I'm super excited to see how they handle this, and I hope that they show a baby, because the baby is absolutely minuscule, and I think it'd just be really cool to see that in this documentary. So yeah, those are all of the official creatures. Honestly, the one I'm probably most excited to see is the pygmy mammoth. But of the creatures we have images of, I'm kind of interested to see what the Glyptotherium is going to do, and also the giant ground sloth. Other ones we've seen a lot of times in other paleo media, but yeah, still excited to see them. And now we're going to move on to other creatures that we could possibly see in the series. At least some creatures that I think would be cool. This is not going to be every creature that could possibly appear, or even every creature I think should appear. This is just quite a few that I could kind of think of off the top of my head that would be cool to see and that could possibly appear. First, we have the giant swan, which actually lived with the pygmy mammoths, and there are not too many creatures that live with the pygmy mammoths, and this is definitely probably the biggest standout after. Actually, I've been calling the pygmy Paleoloxodon pygmy mammoths this whole time. I meant to say pygmy Paleoloxodon, but yeah, this is probably the second most popular animal from there, out after the pygmy Paleoloxodon. So I think it would be actually kind of weird if they didn't feature this guy. But yeah, it'd be really cool to see interactions between an absolutely minuscule elephant and a giant, swan. So yeah. Also, my theory for that episode, maybe they could call it Islands or Island of Dwarf Animals or something like that. I have no idea. Island Dwarfism or something like that. I have no idea what they could name it. But maybe we could have episodes focusing on island animals. And Mylonia is a giant turtle from, I believe, New Caledonia, if I remember correctly. And that is an island. So yeah, maybe we could see this turtle, which I don't think has appeared in any film media, but it has appeared in quite a few games for some reason. I find it weird that it has no film appearances, but quite a few game appearances. And yeah, this would be a really cool turtle to see. Another creature is Mikasuchus, which is another creature that lived with Mylonia, and it was the last Subekian, or at least I think it was a Subekian. Not 100% sure, but one of the last of the terrestrial crocodilians. So yeah, it would be really cool to see Mikasuchus. Also, it is pretty small, so that'd be cool to see. Next, after that, another creature we could see is the short-faced bear Archidus, or maybe we could see some other type of prehistoric bear as well, but I'm just going to go short-faced bear. Honestly, that would also be a pretty cool creature to see. I'm not a crazy big bear fan either, but hey, honestly, still happy to see a prehistoric bear nonetheless. Next, we have my personal preference when it comes to, prehistoric rhinos. It's this and Paraceratherium are probably my favorite. Paraceratherium lived in the Oligocene, which is way, way, way before this episode's setting. So there's no chance that thing's appearing unless they decide to go through other parts of the Cenozoic. But Elasmotherium, on the other hand, doesn't have the same issue since, it actually did live in this time period, if I remember correctly, though it may have been dying out by this time. And I don't know if they would want to have this and the woolly rhino, but I still really want to see Elasmotherium. If not, at least we have an appearance in Dino Dex, and that I'm happy with that as well. But it'd be cool to see with ultra-realistic Elasmotherium. And also it'd be cool to see what depiction of the horn they went with. If they would go super long, but kind of shorter, so that's actually kind of reasonable, a decently long horn, or just the little nub some people give it. Personally, I prefer the decent length horn, nothing super crazy, but also not just a nub. But yeah, be cool to see that. Next, we have Titanus. This is the only shot we're getting at seeing a terror bird, because Titanus, it depends if they're going over all parts of Pleistocene. If they're going over all parts of it, and the earlier parts, I could definitely see them maybe including Titanus. Maybe they could shove it into an episode, especially if they're covering the American interchange. Maybe they could go back for that, though. Who knows? I think it's a very slim chance that we'll see Titanus, but man, I would love to see Titanus, or even any terror bird, especially with the more recent sickle claw, kind of depiction. Honestly, we just don't have any good recent terror bird depictions. I think the only one we got was Life on Our Planet, and personally not a big fan of that design. And also, it was just the discovery of the sickle claw came out at the same time or a little bit after Life on Our Planet released, so yeah, we didn't get to see it there, and I think it'd be cool to see here. Plus, they got disrespected in Prehistoric Planet, just completely getting decimated by that tiny Smilodon, somehow one-shotted. Don't understand how, but it did. And I think we definitely need to see Titanus get justice. So, yeah. Though, again, I do find it kind of unlikely that we get to see it, and this is kind of random, but I need to make a part 2 of creatures I want to see in paleo media. If so, I think I already mentioned terror birds with sickle claws. And again, if it doesn't appear in here, then I guess it could definitely also appear in either Surviving Earth or Dino Dex. Either one of those, I'd also be happy to see a terror bird with sickle claws, or even in addition with this appearance, if it did have an appearance here. Though again, I do think it's not very likely we're going to see a terror bird, though not impossible. Next we have Gigantopithecus. Man, this thing has no appearances. Why does the giant ape have like no appearances? I know it has a few like Walking with Cavemen and a few other more obscure documentaries and other pieces of paleo media, but I just want to see a modern depiction of Gigantopithecus, and I also kind of just don't want it to be like a straight up ripoff of an orangutan but turned big. Kind of change things up. Also, don't just make it Bigfoot. I know they would never do that since they're actually aiming for paleo accuracy at all costs, but still, would be really cool to see a Gigantopithecus depiction. And again, it did live during this time, though I don't know if it lived at the very end of it, but I know it did live during this time, so I think there's a good chance that we could possibly see it. Especially if we have an episode focusing on like jungles and forests, this could be a perfect creature to feature. Next we have, well, for the next few creatures, I'm just going to show my prehistoric Australian exception. So first we have Procoptodon, also lived during the Pleistocene, you know, a giant short-spayed kangaroo. Pretty awesome. I know there's also this other one, which is, I can't remember the name, but it's like, I know it's the part of the same genus, like the gray kangaroo, I believe, and it is significantly taller than Procoptodon, and I believe probably bigger as well, but Procoptodon is still really cool, and would love to see the running kangaroo, since the only depiction of a more accurate Procoptodon we got to see was in, if I remember, What Killed Australia's Giants, I think it was. And yeah, it was cool there, but I think it'd be really cool to see it with smoother animation, a little bit better model, and generally in a documentary where we get to see it do a little bit more interesting things. But yeah, Procoptodon would love to see. Next we have Diprotodon, not a creature I'm dying for. There's actually another creature very similar to it that I would love to see over it. But hey, I would not be mad to see Diprotodon get another appearance. Though I'm not gonna lie, I feel Diprotodon is definitely overused, though for good reason. Next we have Thylacoleo, which, if you didn't know, was pretty much the last marsupial mega predator. I mean, super predator or apex predator before like. Pretty much, I think, like, the Thylacine also was one, so that was, like, the only other one, but, Thylacoleo was, like, the largest, and, yeah, pretty much this thing just hid in trees and prowled down, and then I've seen conflicting things, either it rips your windpipe out, or it breaks your feet. Either way, it's not fun. This thing is horrifying. Would be cool to see, though. Also, I want to mention I'm working on a rewrite for Walking with Cavemen, and one idea I have for the Australia episode is just seeing how people would interact with these nightmares. It would also be cool to see that in this documentary. Just imagine looking up in a tree and you see this thing staring back at you. That would be nightmare fuel. Next we have Dromaeornis, which I know Genyornis would fit the setting a little bit better since I believe that Dromaeornis was already on its way out during the Pleistocene. Though, hey, there's maybe a chance. I think this thing only has one appearance. And, yeah, anyways, Dromaeornis is just a really cool creature, and I really hope that we do get to see it in a documentary soon. And this documentary would be great to see. It gets overshadowed by Genyornis because, again, Genyornis lived a little bit later, so it fits the setting of most things better. But hey, I feel like since they jump around so much in this show, I feel like they could make an excuse of being able to include it. Next, we have the polite gentleman himself, Paleocestes. I would like to see this over Procoptodon. I mean, not over Procoptodon, over Diprotodon. Already, sorry I got those mixed up, but yeah, I think I'd prefer to see this creature over it. I think it's just way more interesting, and also has the only depiction it has is in a very outdated Australia documentary called Once Upon Australia. And yeah, I think, again, if they do an episode focused on, like, forest, Gigantopithecus would be a creature, and then Paleocestes, since this animal did live in forest also, maybe we could have one feeding, or even have a human or some other animal approach it and see it have to defend itself. If you guys are interested, comment down below if you'd like me to do, actually write episodes for this series. We already have 2 names confirmed, maybe I can make a few other ones, and kind of just see what creatures I want to see in them. Hey, I might do that video, don't know. But anyways, yeah, Paleocestes, definitely a really cool creature I'd love to see. Next we have Megalania. This is if they go to Australia, which they definitely have to do, this is a requirement. I need to see my giant venomous lizard, please. I love this thing, and I'd love to see more of it. I know it's been in, like, every Australian documentary known the man, but I don't care. We need more Megalania. Also, Australia, What Killed Australia's Giants kind of did this thing dirty, admittedly. The design was not the best, in my opinion. It looked too much like a mammal, and also the animation was, questionable, I'll say. So, yeah, I think we really need a really good Megalania interpretation. And also, I think it'd just be cool, since a lot of the larger reptiles, like Titanoboa, went extinct, well, pretty much at the beginning of the Cenozoic, and Parasaurus lived during the Miocene. I think this could definitely be, like, one of our few chances to get to see one of the large terrestrial reptiles. Another chance, which I don't think I have a slide for, but Quincana, which is also a terrestrial crocodilian, kind of like Mikosuchus, except it was significantly larger. This thing would also be really cool to see. I'd love to see both of them, but if I had to pick one, kind of tough to say. I love Megalania, but Quincana has, like, no appearances, so either or, I would love to see both of them. Next, we have this other prehistoric creature that's pretty obscure, and I don't think many people really heard of it. I mean, I've heard of it. I know a little bit about it. I don't know too much about it, and yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool for them to include. Don't know what they're going to, but yeah, it's called like the woolly mammoth, I think. Yeah, pretty obscure. I don't think it has too many appearances. I think it would be kind of cool to see they actually included it in this documentary, since, of course, it's such an obscure creature and so few people know it. And it's not like it's an icon of the Ice Age or anything. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Would be cool to see it, though. Anyways, those are pretty much all my suggestions. My final thoughts on this is, I mean, I'm down. It's more prehistoric planet and it's Ice Age animals. Nothing more needs to be said. I do really hope that they focus on Pleistocene Australia. And also, another thing I want to mention is, part of Prehistoric Planet that I love the most were the aquatic creatures, specifically the ammonites. Those things were literally the best. Oceans is like my favorite episode of the original Prehistoric Planet, and I can't think of any I'm not super well versed in the Cenozoic, especially the later parts, and it's kind of harder to research, at least for me. But, yeah, I couldn't really find any good aquatic creatures. I know there's not really any super memorable aquatic creatures, because, like, Megalodon and Leviathan creatures I would love to see. Both are from, like, the Miocene, and I think Megalodon also lived just, like, 1 or 2 million years before the setting of the Pleistocene, so it really wouldn't make any sense to appear. And Basilosaurus, of course, like, that thing went extinct in the second epoch of the Cenozoic. Like, of course, that thing's not going to appear here as well. So again, I can't think of any, like, super iconic aquatic creatures that they could include. I know there probably are some that they could include and I'm just not aware of, but hey, these are really, again, comment down below if there's any really cool ones. Like, a lot of ones that I would want to include, like, again, Odobenocitops, Miocene, Desmostylus, and other Desmostylines, I think all went extinct before here. And I'm really stumped. If there's anything, just comment down below because I just would love to see an aquatic creature in the series as well. But, yeah, comment down below what creatures you would like to see. I think these are pretty much the ones I want to see, though. If I really thought about it more and did a little bit more research, I could probably come up with a few more. So, yeah, again, definitely super excited to see on Prehistoric Planet Ice Age. Think that they have a good ensemble of creatures so far. They have great designs, and just hope the series comes out very well. It's also coming out very soon, so it's a pleasant little surprise. Don't know what the heck that stutter was, but, yeah, also, I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like it would make a bit more sense if this released in December. I guess it kind of makes sense since it's releasing like 3 days before December, but like I feel December 1st would have been a good release date for this since, you know, winter. But, yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye!